to convince you to get involved with a little bit of a pinch and salt into two areas which are very challenging. Now, we've been discussing this before with Elena, so please, I would take this very interactive because I think it's important that I pass the right messages in the right way. So the first message, before I start the presentation, is that how challenging is this area? Well, it is there is one KPI, one indicator that I can use for you, and it is how many proposals do we receive and how many proposals do we fund. And it is challenging because we manage to fund, let's say the average is between 1 out of 12, 1 out of 15 projects. That is the first reasons why it is very difficult job today. The second is related to the perception of learning technologies and games, the perceptions on the complexities of the technologies per se. Now, this area is challenging for other reasons. You don't have just the technologies per se. It is very challenging because in education, you have to put together these three components. One is the technology. The second one is the pedagogy to use the technology. And the third one is how do you organize the delivery of learning. Now, this is a field where these three components have the same relevance and probably the same type of the same complexity. And then the third, that adds to the complexity, is the policy context, which is very important for those who want to submit a proposal. Knowing where we situate this is a fundamental important. So, and that's where I start. I do start with the policy context. So we are supporting this research in developing technologies for improving human learning because there is this call for modernizing education. So to make sure that education systems, they may provide to the labor market the skills they need. Now, there is huge debate over the role of technologies for improving education. There is huge debate over whether educational technologies specifically and devices whatsoever, they add to the learning. The context is actually changing. You see more and more classrooms that are connected to the internet. Teachers, sometimes they use, sometimes they don't use that technology. That is the organizational issues I was telling before. And the pedagogical issues, because it's not forgiven that all our teachers, they do know how to use those technologies to improve their teaching. And the same happens for the students. And even in games, it is also not a given that people know what you can get out of a game. And I will tell this, I will elaborate a little bit on this in the next slides. Everybody knows about MOOCs and online courses everywhere. So it seems to be an easy endeavor. Well, it's not. And let's have a look why. On the policy background, whoever wants to submit the proposals here needs to be aware of the challenges that we are depicting here. And there is a document that I invite you to read, which is called the Opening Up Education. It's a Commission communication dated 2013 that is still valid, that actually sets out the strategy for modernizing, if you want, education and training by mainstreaming technologies in education and training. And one of the elements there is that if you read that, the background is very important for you. There are two documents of which you have to be aware if you want to submit that proposal, because it highlights that we are very good in developing technology and theoretical models, but we are not very good in taking this technology and this theoretical model into the classroom, into training. So that is where we start. So there is a technology problem and there is an organizational problem. People tend to focus sometimes very much on developing a new technology, and they forget that then somebody else has to use that technology. And that complicates the matter. It doesn't make it easy. So, research today, these online courses are widespread. There are millions of users using some of those results are coming out of research that we have been funding over the past 10 years. So all those that are interested in submitting a proposals, the first invitation is to make sure that you get acquainted with the projects that we have been supporting so far. There are challenges that we have overcome and challenges that are still there. Now, project-wise, you see, this is a huge investment, if I may say. So we are calling 220 millions of projects in developing technologies for learning. So there is a huge state-of-the-art, if you want, basis that people have to be aware of. And that is my goal today. So on what have we been working? Well, probably the first and the most important one is the holy grail of technologies in education. So getting to the level of the teachers. A teacher, the most beautiful teachers of this will never be able to substitute a human person as a teacher. But our effort here is, can we actually create something technologically that I can use in a learning or teaching environment, and that system understands what I'm understand what I'm not understanding, and actually elaborates the learning so that I get the best out of it. People call it intelligent tutoring systems, others call it personalized learning, but at the end of the day, it is not just the nice, if you want, PowerPoint presentations that I've created, or the video lectures that you have in a course. It's much more. It's what are the bases for human learning that can be influenced by that technology. And that is the holy grail. That is where the complexity lies. Can we create an intelligent machine that understands what I'm doing and what I should be doing to overcome my barriers when it comes to learning? And we have been applying these intelligent tutoring, if you want, approaches to a number of technologies. See, in the workplace learning. Why in the workplace learning? Well, because it's not only at schools that you need to learn. You have to acquire skills in workplace, because it's too rapid of an environment that requires a constant upskills of the employees. So, can we put these technologies to make sure that the employee get the skills they need, and exactly what they need to know to improve not only the productivity but also the well-being in their classroom, in their environments. And of course, an important part of that technologies is what we call now learning analytics. 5 years ago it was called data mining, 10 years ago it was called artificial intelligence. But the issue, the concept, is the same. Now, there is one keyword that we are constantly using. It is this STEM. Of course, the majority of these projects, they tried to solve the problem of learning scientific concepts. So students that have issues in getting a mathematical concept. So how do I understand this concept of limit? I have no idea what it is. So you struggle. Either you give up, or you try and you get help, you get help. So this is where the intelligent tutoring systems have been applied most, to try to ease the process of understanding scientific concepts. And we are still insisting on that for obvious reasons on the competition. And that's it. So these are a number of projects we have in each of these areas that I was mentioning to you before. And one area that you didn't mention is this, creativity. That is coming up recently. Can we use a methodology plus a technology to stimulate creativity, problem solving, collaboration? That is, so you see that we have a number of projects that are working already on that. So now this constitutes the baseline for any projects that we're going to apply in research. I started this with the policy problem. We are very good in developing new ideas. We're very good in developing new technologies. In Europe, we are very, very good in developing the theoretical models. So Vygotsky, blah, blah. What we are not good at is in getting these beautiful ideas either to the market or to education. So we have insisted a lot, Mario mentioned that on Morten Muller's Solia, the innovation element. How do we make sure that those technologies are adopted by the stakeholders, by the constituents? And that is where we invest in innovation activities. Now it's interesting because one of these projects which is recently finished, it's called Open Discovery Space. I went and checked the partners. There are 2 partners for operations in that project.
Okay.
So that's a best practice.
I stand corrected.
So this Open Discovery Space project is a consortium composed of an incredible number of partners. There are 52 partners. So guess how difficult it is to manage that project. When we selected, it was very scary. I say, how can you manage a project with 52 partners? Well, you can. You can. Now, after 3 years, I can tell you that, because I reviewed this project 3 days ago. What did we achieve? Well, we managed, so what was the objective of this project? Take the technologies, digital learning technologies, go to teachers, engage the teachers, let them understand what you can do with it, create a web portal where you can find the resources online if you need to adopt the technologies, and make sure that those are used by schools, real schools. So why 52 partners? Because you cannot do this in 1 country. You cannot do this in 5 countries. This is done in 28 countries. So, results. There have been more than 100,000 students that have benefited by Open Discovery Space projects. More than 10,000 teachers have been trained, engaged to use learning resources online. More than 2,500 schools are now networked and are using these systems. The most interesting effect that no one would have thought at the very beginning is that there are 4 countries that have adopted the guidelines and the models for innovation, and they are using it for their policies. They didn't have that before. So if you go in Greece, in Bulgaria, in Serbia, in Portugal, they are using the immaturity model, for instance, to see whether schools are technologically enabling and whether they are ready to engage with technologies. With this, there are, of course, we cannot avoid to have the MOOCs as well. Huh? So we have 2 innovation projects in federating multiple online courses, to be sure that I give the time to everything. So this is not the first call in Horizon 2020, it's the second call. The first call dedicated something like 52 million euro to technologies for learning. I think, Mario, you elaborated on that. You'll see whether I get it. The first call, it was an open challenge. So we described the challenge and we asked projects to address that in a very open way. So we described the challenges of education and workplace. We didn't specify exactly, so they say the audience, stakeholders, they will decide what the problem is. We got, well, I don't tell you the number of proposals, I don't remember, but it's about 200. We selected 12 projects. I think it's less than 12. It was 880, 170. But anyway, it's a huge number of projects. However, what I was telling Ekaterina this morning, what makes the difference in participating and not participating into a project, or the quality of that, it's not necessarily the huge quantity of projects you receive, because that is actually only a symptom that the area is interesting. What is interesting to check is how many proposals manage to get over the threshold, so the quality of those proposals, and it's very high. Why I'm saying that this is very challenging? Because you know, the score of a project goes from 0, that is totally irrelevant for what we are calling for, to 15, that is excellent. And we give half a point. So we have selected this project. If you take the first 6, so you remember, so 15, 14.5, 14, 13 and a half, where do you think that these projects are sitting? So, what is the scores that, let's say, the lowest one got to be selected? So you say 180 proposals, 52 million euro, which is not bad. Top score is 15. So the majority of this project were around what? Let's guess. That is the problem. That the majority of those projects, all of them, were 15 and 14.5. Equals, competition is very high, and if you don't have an excellent proposal, whatever beautiful idea you have, it will not get through. For whatever reasons. So, because the impact is not well developed. This is not, so that is the first message. It's very challenging, and you need to know what we are doing here. But the second one, it's also equally important, and that is my firm belief since I'm working in this field, that regardless of that complexity, it's important to get into this stream, because you learn a lot, you create a network, and it's just a matter of time, it will come, as it has come for all the stakeholders that are participating in this project. And Open Discovery Space, it's one example. You see, 52 partners. There are opportunities there to be explored. Now, these 12 projects will start to operate as of 2015, February, the end of this year, beginning of next year. And they are about, mainly about the interface we use to acquire learning. Some of them are of artistic nature, so music and dancing are part of it. So you say dancing, yeah, dancing. Let's take dancing as an example. Right? Dancing is again the acquisition of a specific skills. But where is the technology invested on that? Well, if you want to achieve excellent level on certain topics, including dancing, here the system will actually look at the performance, in this case is dancing, and will identify where the problems are to achieve excellence, and will guide this information, so will flow this information to the teachers that can correct. I have witnessed one of these projects with playing violin. Playing violin in the countries where I am, it's supposed to be very easy. Everybody goes to the conservatoire with the violin. And only after 2 years, they realized that moving the little bow, it's not an easy task. So we have selected and we have run a project that with the cameras that are looking at the guy when he performs at home or in a school, is able to realize where the problems are in moving the arm to use the bow. And that, the end effect is that the guy learns faster and learns better. And these are the two objectives of our research: learn faster and learn better. So the second bulk of projects, also in the workplace, the second bulk of project, it's about helping people and children which have disabilities, either cognitive disabilities or physical disabilities, in their classrooms, in their training abilities. What do we need to do that? Well, we need technological solutions that not only help vis-a-vis the disability, but they do also help the teachers understanding what the needs in learning terms are. And that again complicates very much the matter, but I must say it's one of the most interesting things I've ever seen in my life as a project officer. So let's go now to the call. The call, the ICT 22. The call, let's say the text, which is the Bible, is divided in 3 major blocks, and they are equally important. The first block, it is about the challenge, the scenarios. What do we want to achieve after all? The second block, it's called the scope of research, that tells you which kind of research we expect to find. that will actually help us achieve our challenge. And the third element is the impact. So, what do we want to get out of this exercise? Not only technological, but also educational, if you will. And therefore, the first and probably most important element is the overall aim. And again, it's about supporting the modernization and delivering excellence in education through digital learning, through new technologies. So the first element is that the world, in terms of learning, is changing. And that is, that if you take the digital transformation is changing education and training, and that it's a fact. There are millions of students that go online to search for information and to acquire new skills, either informally or formally, either through a certificate or without a certificate. And it is providing enormous opportunities that we seek to exploit here. The second element is that the teacher has a fundamental role in helping that change, but he has to get he has to know how to use that technology, if you want. But there is a huge effort to be made in understanding what is the role of the teacher when the digital transformation comes into place. What are the problems here? You see, everybody is able to develop a fantastic technology. Everybody. That only few people adopt, that cannot be reused by other people. That certainly, because of languages, is not used in another country. And so if you take silo product, low interoperability, and no crosser adoption, that's already giving you a lot of work to do. So that is the scenario, but what is the challenge that we see here? That interaction does not work totally. So what we are calling for is, in our challenge, is to create what we call an innovation ecosystem that would facilitate those who have something to contribute to the digital transformation in education and training to do so. So, what do we mean by innovation ecosystem? Well, it is a system composed by the stakeholders. So those that produce games, those that deliver training, the parents, the students, the publishers, they all together, they can work together. They are not separated. There are no barriers between the contribution that the digital game producers can give to education. No technological barriers and no organizational barriers. So this ecosystem is because at the end it will be really self-sustainable. Yeah, it's not an easy endeavor. This is really an aim, an overall aim. So, but what do you need to make that happen? Well, at challenge level, you need to make sure that the knowledge on how certain things are done flows without barriers. So, if you know how to, if you know Vygotsky's theories applied to scientific concept in mathematics, it would be good that you take that knowledge and you take that knowledge to those who develop games and inquiry learning approaches to make sure, or at least to experiment whether it's possible to create a game according to that theory. Now that's already the first problem. And how do you do that, the flow of knowledge? By stimulating partnership. And when we talk about partnership, it's because in education, this is huge. The stakeholders are not just technological stakeholders. Not just technological stakeholders. You need to know the pedagogy, you need to know the organization. So, the first, now we go, these are the challenges. Now I go to the second chapter. What are we calling for? So, remember, what was the main problems we highlighted? The main problem was that we are very good at developing new gadgets, not very good at taking those up in education and training. Which is the reasons why we insist in having innovation actions. Now, what is the difference between research and innovation? You mentioned it. Innovation takes a technological solution, an idea which has been tested in lab, and try to get it into real context, where actually people are working. It's out of the lab. It's much closer to the market. Because of this large implementation gap, that was the way we believe we should be going. So supporting more of these large-scale projects where you go and test with teachers, with students in real educational establishments, in real schools. So, and what do we want to do? What do we don't have now? You remember the silos, the interoperability. What we don't have is the capability of developing a particular technology and making it usable across disciplines, across borders, across sectors of education. And for that reason, we call for this, you see, that this, now, here is the hint. We have given one page to describe the challenge, one page to describe the scope. So each and every word has a density, so if you look at the density, each and every word counts. So if we say open, it's because the technological solutions, the components that we develop, can be reused by others, either for free or payment, but they have to be reused by others. So use standards. They have to be interoperable, you see. And at the end, what do we want? We want to test technologies that will enable this, personalized, collaborative, or experimental learning and skills validation. So this is the outcome that we want through what we call a digital learning infrastructure for primary and secondary education. So it's about, it's very clear what it is. It's not about vocational training in general. It's in primary and secondary education. And that is delivered through a cloud-based digital learning infrastructure. So what we want is all the components, technological components, that can be put together regardless of who has created, can be put together by all these stakeholders. You remember the innovation ecosystem. So I give you an example. If you have publishers that have published a very nice game, and they wanted to inject so that others can actually reuse that game for other purposes than what they had intended to use. Well, they developed that technologies in an open way, and they can put it into this cloud-based digital learning infrastructure for others to use. We have clearly established what this solution should do. And that is important, you see. So it's one of these three elements. Creation and reuse of content for interactive learning process, experiences, experimentation, and innovative learning supports. So all of that, I mean, you spend a little bit of time on the technology and you will know what it is about. These are technologies that are not breakthrough technologies. They are there. What is important is that the projects that you're going to propose generates innovation. And not only technological innovation, I insist on that. So the key point of this innovation action is that they are actually taken up in real learning context. So we are, again, working with teachers and working with students. And therefore, we go for very large pilots. Implication, you need to get into this network of people that will be proposing those projects and get the things to check, to validate the pilots in your country as well, I believe. That's why this is very relevant and very important. And Open Discovery Space is one example. We have another one, it's called ITEC, the ITEC project. It's exactly the same thing, but at the research level. I will rush. Don't underestimate this impact, because there is a section that says how this will have an impact. And this impact is evaluated by the experts. So if one doesn't spend too much time in this, because they say, okay, well, in explaining how the proposal will address these elements, so for instance, how your solution will improve cross-border availability of content. That may be a problem, because if we need to have the 15 or 14 and a half, you have to be excellent in all of these elements. So amounts of money, 20 million we've put on this, and the proposal should be around 5 million to make sure that it's quite large scale, the effect. Now we have done research, but we have not forgotten about our holy grail, the intelligent tutoring systems and learning analytics and education. And therefore we call also for research and innovation, again on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Well, we have included, and again, it's about innovation and creative process. On what? Well, either we do foundational research on new technologies and how these new technologies can actually improve cognitively human learning, or we do technological wise, and or we do component and systems that can support new technologies in new learning settings. So if you want, while the previous one with 20 millions is more, let's address the problem in real settings, here it's more at research level. New ideas, new technologies as well. So this concludes the bit on education. We have also invested a lot over the past year on games. And the reason, sorry, somebody called it serious games. If you call it serious games, not all people will accept it, because serious games say, what do you mean? That there are games that are not serious? They're all serious. The constituency decided to call, some constituents call it serious games, others call it applied digital games. But the concept is the same. You see, this is a mix. Digital serious games. Look at the market figures. No? So this, what is a serious game? First. The serious game, well, the serious game. Let's go to this. Let's go. No, I don't tell you. Let's stick to this. The gaming market is huge. Huge. The gaming sector, the people that are working in the gaming sector, they know very, very well how to technologically develop a game, how to use the psychological triggers to make the players play.
All the time.
All the time. All the time. Some all the time, some less. It depends. Yes, they know very well how to do it. And they do this for business purposes. So it's gigantesque, I would say, in Italy, the market for digital games. Now, the same pedagogical triggers, however, may be used for people, not just for entertaining purposes, but to convey skills. I remember a project some times ago. The key issue was to transfer knowledge about, sorry, I used twice the word transfer. The transfer of light. So, what are the physical concepts behind transfer of light? So, lights going through optics, you know, splits, scientific concept. Well, you can create a very interesting, massive online open course with video lecture, with physics lectures, with whatever, and you try that avenue. But you can also do a game. You have to free a princess which has been, you know, jailed or put in the tower, and in order to free that princess, you have to overcome a number of issues, which includes understanding how light propagates. And actually it worked. So our question, or the question that the people in the serious game sector ask themselves is, can we use the technology that this gaming industry is using so well to make sure that at the end of the process you get skills? And that's what we are after here. So what we are after is to reuse the technology, the expertise and the knowledge of those that produce game for pure entertainment purposes, for non-entertainment purposes, and specifically for education and training and for social benefits. Those of you who are interested into the matter can go and check, for instance, remission. Remission is, at least to the best of my knowledge, one of the best examples. You have children which are not so fortunate. They have cancer disease. And in order to overcome that disease, they have to undergo the treatment, which is very heavy. Supporting the chemotherapy, it's not an easy thing. Well, people have developed a game, which is called remission, that if the kids that are suffering that, they have to undergo that treatment. If they play that game, well, there is a statistical output. they manage, by playing this game, to remain in the treatment. So they don't leave the treatment because it is so strong. So there is a clinical effect on using that game on a specific constituency. So this is what we are after. In this case, we have two projects that are constituted huge baseline. One is called RAGE, and RAGE is realizing a number of components that can be reused. It's an important project in financial terms. It's 9 million. Why one? Because we wanted to gather in one single project the critical mass to develop components. To develop components, to test components, and to push the market, if you want. This, the RAGE project, emanated from a so-called network of excellence. It's called GAL, Game and Learning Environments, where they were developing the theory. So, this RAGE project, everybody that wants to submit here should know what this RAGE project is doing. So have a look at the website here, the RAGE Project EU. You see, they're also doing large-scale pilot and developing software model for applied games. Now, let's skip this for time. Let's go to the code. So what is the problem here that we are addressing? Again, we are very good in developing the technology, and by chance, when it comes to apply this for non-entertaining purpose, we don't do. And in general, the answer that I'm given is that because the market is not sufficient. It is developing. So, how do we address the problem? Well, our idea is to let developers try the game to address a non-entertainment purpose and see the benefits. And by showing the benefits to the authorities, then this may generate a market. So, for instance, if we manage to show that applying a certain methodology with a game, we increase the acquisitions of these famous mathematical concepts of limits or integrals or hyperboles, then this may be passed on to publishers, they may be passed on to ministries of education, which may invest in the matter and generate revenues, and generate the critical mass that is necessary. Now, what is the difference with the previous call? Here, we don't call for research and innovation projects which is massively developing components. We go for those who are used to work on digital games, very, if you want, very focused interventions with innovation actions to address these fragmentations. And how do we do that? We call for innovation again, and we call for these words, technology transfer. So we let people experiment, and we want to do as much experiment as possible with the budget that we have available, which is 11 or 20 million, I'm not sure. And for that reasons, we call for very targeted, very selected projects, 1 million only, so not huge consortium, very focused on specific elements that would support our aim of supporting technology transfer. The technology transfer, again, to do what? To take these gaming technologies and apply it to education and training. And the challenge here is because this technology transfer should not just validate the technology, but should help others to use it, is to also to include those who may have an interest. So, you see, the publishers, the intermediaries, the schools. Now, this, again, it's not an easy endeavor, but it's worth investing in. It's worth it even if you don't get to the project, you get into a network. Even if you don't get the project the first, the second, and the third time, you will remain in that network. And that's important. So, the message is, it's not an easy area, because it's learning, so we can do it. There is a huge amount of research already carried out. Get involved, especially in the innovations actions, as you have done successfully in open discovery space. Make sure you continue. You know the deadlines. This is the 12th of April. You know the budget. And I think that I'm ready to answer any question. I hope that, yes, I managed to get in time.